Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, we have with us Mustafa Ergun. Hi, Mustafa. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Vasco. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Mustafa is an experienced Scrum Master. He has a passion for helping individuals and organizations see their potential and make things better. His current focus is on improving teams' performance through insightful facilitation, which I'm sure we'll talk a lot about here this week. And Mustafa is always eager to learn, share his experience with others, and enjoy seeing people succeed. So, Mustafa, that was a short intro. Take a minute, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Absolutely. So I would say my journey started when I was back in college, as I was working on different projects. Let's call those projects as extracurricular activities. So at that moment, I discovered the power of lean thinking to deliver more benefits to society and value to individuals while eliminating the waste. So after college, that I get the experience with the lean thinking. In addition to that, I have worked on different projects as a software engineer. During that period of time, I had an opportunity to work with different Scrum Masters, different, the teams, and I really, like the role. As part of my T-shaped development, I start to volunteer to be a Scrum Master during the absence of my Scrum Master and took my CSM and show my interest. In one morning when I come to work and to start to work, my product owner pinged me on the side whether I am interested in being a Scrum Master as the organization has an opening. After that, I didn't miss the opportunity and become the Scrum Master. So that's my journey.
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, the background in Lean, I'm sure, was a big influence in understanding also what Scrum is about and also being interested in the role. Now, when we go through that journey, and as you said, bringing in Lean as part of your journey, of course, we face many challenges, and because today is Monday, we want to focus on one of those challenges. So, Mustafa, take a minute. Tell us a little bit about what your history with a difficult moment was. But tell us the story. Like we'll dive to the insights and learnings later on. Tell us that story of that difficult moment. Walk us through the process of how the things you went through and what you felt throughout that journey, so that we may understand that challenge.
So throughout the week, I think I'll show my, the different hats as a Scrum Master because, the Scrum Master has different hats. So let me share one of my early stage difficulties and failure. So, after becoming a Scrum Master, I realized at the beginning date, facilitating Scrum event wasn't hard because I was part of the team. I went through all those meetings and such. But as part of the Scrum Master role, as a facilitator, you are not only responsible to facilitate the session with your team, but also responsible to facilitate some of the, the other meetings in your organization. So when I say, when I say other meetings, I'm saying, meetings such as sometimes dependency management or, the facilitating the Scrum of Scrum or sometimes, the small room planning, big room planning. So there are different, the terms out there and sometimes, ad hoc meetings. So even though I know the purpose of those all those calls, the participant may have different expectations or understanding within the team. So as a facilitator, in order to facilitate a session enough, so you need to set a clear agenda, time box each topic, and create a psychologically safe environment that people freely share their opinion and understand more from each other. So with that, I had fail fast and learn fast experience in one of the small room planning session that I facilitate in the early stage of my career. So as part of the, like that small room planning meeting, so at the beginning, we had a big group. We talk about all those business outcomes and such. Then get into the breakout rooms with multiple teams to see how we are going to break up the work. And this is the conversation, mostly technical, but we also need some input from the business. And I am the one that facilitate that conversation. I am the facilitator of that session. So initially I was thinking that agenda is pretty clear when we get there. So I just explained them why we are here, then hand it over to them. I did that, but when I handed over to them, I realized there is a silence in the meeting. Nobody want to speak up. You know, I'm mostly comfortable with the silence, but in that moment, I was like, okay, I think
You
something
got
is
an
missing
intuition
here.
that something was wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something is wrong over there. So what we did, so at that moment, we are either like 3 or 4 different teams, quickly take a break, like the 4 team Scrum Masters get together and to discuss what is missing. Then we realized that maybe instead of telling them the whole big picture, we need to come up with like a first day call, because that session eventually is a 5 day session. So we need to work, like each day to complete all the discussion and planning. So then we get together and we decide, okay, let's circle back with each team individually. Then we realize that there is something missing. So let's hear from each team what they want to accomplish and what is the best way to go from that perspective. And then get a representative from each team to, like to get together with those 4 different teams and come up with a goal. Then we did that quickly. Okay, so in the next day, and I also realized a couple things too. In the first call, there are a couple, like the line manager on the call, which sometimes is not a, comfortable environment for the associates to speak up in front of their managers, right? Especially with those technical things. And those teams are not always working together. So we need to have an icebreaker too. In the next day, we started with an icebreaker of the session. Then, like I create a virtual call.
What was the icebreaker you guys used?
So I would say, what was it? So I created a board, okay, like a board. At that moment, all the associates were working in the US. So we create a board, and each board, so everyone in their name, like their role, and one fact about themselves with their respected state. So in each time when we kick off the meeting, so we visited one of the state and went through all those sticky, and each person just quickly describe who they are and what's the fun fact about themselves. So we had an opportunity to learn more from each other while we are working on the business needs. So that was icebreaker. And so after that icebreaker, and good thing with those icebreaker, so it was, like the not only focus on one session, we had a chance to do in different sessions. So, and after that, I created again another, like the virtual collaboration board, like the whiteboard, uh, to to put the, like the first day agenda there, and then create a retrospective, like the space, completely anonymous, to get a feedback from each team member every day if they're willing to share, like the good things or improvement items.
So in a
Because
virtual board, right?
yes, exactly, virtual board. So because it is something that we need to collect those feedbacks to inspect and adapt and do better for the next day. So even though, uh, also one other thing, we ask, like the managers to not attend the first day, especially first day, because we need to understand more with each other and start to speak. Then it went really good and we got a great feedback, at the end of the week. So we exactly complete what we are planning to, like to accomplish. Everything went really good. And we learn a lot from our like the mistakes. So
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that immediately came to mind is that as a facilitator, as you very well said, we need to make sure that the agenda is clear, that there are clear goals, that people know why they are getting together. But that is only one part of setting the stage for a successful facilitation, right? The other part is what you guys did later on, which is setting the social stage, right? So
exactly.
allowing people to figure out what's my role in this discussion, and is it safe enough for me to share something? And the icebreaker helps with creating that safer environment, because of course when people start sharing about themselves, they immediately create the connection with their colleagues. So I
Exactly.
thought that was a great way to go beyond setting the content stage for the facilitation and starting to set the social stage, the interaction stage for the facilitation.
Yeah.
How about you, Mustafa? What is the key lesson you want our listeners to take from this story?
I I would say, like as a Scrum Master, so it's good to fail, but like learn from the mistakes. So, like don't hesitate to make a mistake. So mistakes are a good thing as long as you learn something from them, and so working with a team, with a single team, or facilitate a meeting with a single team sometimes is different when you facilitate a meeting with multiple teams. So you need to understand that, and there are different approach for those big facilitations. Setting up a clear agenda is important as we both talk and agree, but also at the end of each session, you need to come back with your agenda and keep yourself accountable with your participants to see, like the where you are, to clarify again all those action items, and identify the next steps. So I would say those are the my final thoughts with those topics. So
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Mustafa.
thank you.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.